What's up? What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome in to the first. We just finished, Dave. First off, I'm joined as my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
Dave, how you doing today? How you doing this beautiful Tuesday that we're sitting on?
We are days away from Christmas. Excited. And today is the most important day of the year, perhaps.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Season. And it's our mock draft. Number 1, 2021.
We just finished a draft. Usually it's way back in June, and we're like, okay, we're sitting here trying to figure out what we're going to do up until this one. But the draft literally just ended a month ago, and we're already, like I said, it's the most wonderful time of the year, Dave, not just because of Christmas. You got NBA starting back up. We're talking about mock drafts again. College basketball is a bloom, and it should be a great year, and I can't wait to kick this draft season, this 2021 draft season off with Dave, of course, but with all of you guys at home. Little caveat before we start into this. First off, if you haven't joined the Discord, link down below. You guys know that. If you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids is where you go and do that, and you can catch the you're watching this on YouTube, so I don't have to do the whole Twitch thing, but we are live on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVPvids. Caveat for this draft, Dave, because we have never done this before, where usually we just take Tankathon and we say, okay, we're just going to use their rankings to start the season. But we did something different, where you, I, and Soapy all came up with a 1 through 15 for each team. And we basically, I took the math, same thing we did for the positional rankings. So if you were at 15, you got a 1. If you were at number 1, you got a 15. Team with the lowest score got the number 1 pick. Team with the highest score got the 30th pick in the draft. So this order that we are using is our custom order, Dave. This is based off of our preseason predictions. Yep. This is what we think the order of the draft will be.
Yeah.
Should be a fun one.
I'm like, what more do you want me to say? You explained it, how it works?
Don't know if you had a reaction to that, but how we'll do it if you're new to a podcast is we'll go 1 through 10. Then we'll go 21 through 30. Then we'll talk about the last 10, or 11 through 20. Then 21 through 30. Can't jumble them up now, Dave. So how it usually works: Dave gives the top 10, I give my top 10, and we go from there. So Dave, let's get right into it. Starting at number 1, who is the number 1 pick? I'll let you reveal it. Give me your top 10.
So number 1, I'm taking, of course, as written on my board here, as I've yelled at multiple times, Cade Cunningham is going number 1 overall to the Cavaliers. Number 2, the Knicks are taking Jalen Suggs. At 3, I've got the Thunder going with Jalen Green. At 4, the Warriors will be taking, and again, this is via the Timberwolves, Evan Mobley out of USC. 5, the Pistons are going to take Jonathan Kuminga. At 6, the Spurs will be taking Jalen Johnson. 7, the Kings will be taking Scotty Barnes. At 8, the Hornets will go Zaire Williams. 9, the Magic taking Jaden Springer out of Tennessee. And at 10, the Bulls will be taking Moses Moody out of Arkansas.
Can't wait to talk about that pick, Dave, because that one confused me what to do until I had something else, and then I just locked it in. But my top 10, the Cavs at 1. Dave, point to the board. Point to the board. Who's number 1? Cade Cunningham, number 1 to the Cavaliers.
We won't write it in on that wall.
Then the Knicks taking Jalen Suggs, just like you. 3, going a little different. Thunder going with Evan Mobley, center out of Southern Cal. Then the Warriors via the Timberwolves going with Jonathan Kuminga of the G League. Pistons at 5 going Jalen Green, also of the G League. Spurs at 6 going with Jalen Johnson from Duke. Kings at 7 going Scotty Barnes out of Florida State. The Hornets at 8 going BJ Boston or Brandon Boston, however you want to call him, out of Kentucky. The Magic going with Zaire Williams, not Zaire Smith as I'm used to saying, Zaire Williams out of Stanford. And then the Bulls going with my boy, Ayo Dosunmu, staying home. He went to Morgan Park in Chicago. He then went to Illinois. He's going to stay in the state with the Chicago Bulls, be the backup to Kobe White and Zach LaVine, but more Kobe White being the point guard. But Dave, how we do this is we go through, kind of talk about each team in the top 10. Here's the thing I want to start, though, with this one, is we've already made the joke. This will be our joke the entire year. So if you're tired of it, just get used to it, because it's going to happen.
It's gonna be a while.
Cade Cunningham is number 1. He's going to stay number 1 the whole year. He is the Zion Williamson to me, where he's the number 1 pick. However, there are people, and more so, like, for example, Tankathon, they have Jalen Suggs. They switched him to number 1.
On their big board, not on their mock.
On their big board. The mock still has Cade Cunningham. When it comes to, and this is the big board versus mock draft discussion, do you think there will actually be a debate at the end of the year who will be the number 1 prospect in this draft class? Or is it just going to be Cade Cunningham, and that's without a doubt?
I can't see us having we're going to have conversations. Don't get me wrong. There will be conversations. But I can't see a single one of those ending in the fact that Cade Cunningham is not the overall number 1 pick in this class. He just has the complete package. He has size, he has strength, he's got good speed, and he's got a shot. He can move the ball. I mean, the only thing right now that's holding him back is his stat line, because he's playing at Oklahoma State, which is not exactly a powerhouse of basketball, and his teammates aren't exactly top tier. So, like, hey, he's doing what he can. He's had a lot of people I've heard use the Ben Simmons, season at LSU. No, the season Ben Simmons had at LSU.
Okay.
Where
the team wasn't that good.
My team's shit. It looks like he's not trying out there. Cade very clearly is trying. He doesn't have that perception issue that Ben Simmons kind of did. Yeah. But it's very much like, can you carry a bad team? Right now, the answer is still yes, clearly. But like, his stat line would look disgusting if he were going to a premier basketball college.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I know that, like, early scouting reports, if you look at, like, for example, I'm pulling up Tankathon, so that's what I'm using right now in the early on. They have their, like, strengths and weaknesses, and for Jalen Suggs, it's a lot of fucking green, and for Cunningham, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, a little green with a little red. The thing, though, that's different about these two guys, and we're going to keep this into consideration the entire year, is, like you said, Cade Cunningham. I like the Ben Simmons analogy there, or the kind of relation there, because Oklahoma State may make the tournament, but we don't fucking know. They just could be a bad team that doesn't make the tournament, like LSU didn't when Ben Simmons was on that team.
Their 2 losses are to TCU and Texas. Texas is a good team.
Yeah.
TCU up in the air. I don't know if that one's 100% out, but he did beat, he beat everyone he should have beat. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to how do they do in the Big 12, because obviously LSU, I think that year was not good in the SEC. They were absolute garbage, where Jalen Suggs plays for Gonzaga, who is a much better, well-rounded team. Mark Few in his recruiting, having the old, like, usually the upperclassmen there are also like you've got there are 2 other guys that will be in my mock draft this time that are teammates of Jalen Suggs in the first round right now. So, like, when you got 2 of those teammates out there for you, and Cade Cunningham's just got himself.
Name another player on Oklahoma State.
I can't. I'm just going to say, I'm not even going to try. I can't.
Exactly.
I can't at all.
But again, his shot is great. That's the big differentiator between someone like Ben Simmons, who is a defensive phenom who could move the ball but could not shoot and create for himself on the outside. Cade has no problem with that, and that's what I love to see. Like, his game truly doesn't have a hole in it, and I think that's what's interesting to me is, like, I understand Jalen Suggs has a lot of excitement around him, but a 6'8" ball handler with a shot who can learn to be excellent on the defensive end, like, what would it take for someone to supplant him, Ricky?
To me, there's no one. There is nothing anyone can do. Because, like, the thing that I wanted to get into is the first pick. We have the Cavs as number 1. Anything can happen from now until the end of the year.
And again, remember that 1 through 3, same odds.
Same odds.
So that will be something with the lottery this year. Again, we all know that the Thunder desperately want that number 1 overall pick. They have gone out of their way to tank their roster into a position where they should be able to get one of the best odds for the number 1 overall pick. But again, at that point, you're just fingers crossed, roll the dice. It's no guarantee.
And the one thing I will say is, so let's say the Cavs do win the lottery. They're number 1 at the end of the year. I don't expect, it's not one of those things where it's like you see in the NFL draft where it's like, oh, we already got our quarterback, let's look to trade back. Like, no, the Cavs are going to take Cade Cunningham at number 1. The problem with me goes, how does that fit in with the back, almost almost back to back to back. They took Isaac Okoro this past year, so they broke it a little bit. But they already got Darius Garland and Sexton. Yes, should not be a question to where it's like, don't let those two determine whether or not you take Cade Cunningham.
That prospect since I don't even know.
But yet again, if Cade comes into the Cavaliers, who's out, Garland or Sexton? Is it Sexton just because he's the one that's going to be up the soonest, like contract-wise?
Sexton's a better player than Garland right now. So I think Garland just eats bench time.
Okay.
I don't think it's a big deal. I think he just slide one to the bench. I mean, they're all on rookie deals, Ricky. That's the glorious thing about this is you can put Garland off the bench. You can run 3 of them out there and just have, basically Cade can guard wings for you. He can be your 4.
Yeah.
And you can run a Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Cade. I don't know if Drummond will still be there or what that situation will look like at the 5 for them, but like that could be a lineup they run with multiple ball handlers out there. But like clearly they are not winning games right now at this roster, and Sexland isn't exactly killing it at the guard position. So you should look to take the BPA and just, hey, we talked about moving on from Garland very early last year when it was clear that, like, hey, this guy had only played 3 games, 5 games, whatever it was in college. He's going to have a little bit more time where he needs to learn the game. And yeah, at the end of the year, he did have a couple performances way back pre-bubble where he looked like a good basketball player. So again, it's not out of the idea that, like, he will be on the team still, but right now, I think he would be the odd man out if they landed a Cade Cunningham. I think he would go to the bench.
Yeah, well, and not even that. Just I'm thinking contract-wise. So Cade Cunningham's rookie year would be Colin Sexton's contract year, where after next season, 21-22, he's up to be an RFA, where if you are the Cavaliers, you're going to keep Colin Sexton. Like, you're not going to let him walk. Even if a team matches him, if you haven't extended him, if a team matches him, you're just going to say, we're matching the offer.
He'll get an extension this year. Like 100% sure of that.
Like if Cade comes in, I think of, if I'm the Cavaliers, I either try to do one of 2 things. Next year, so Cade's rookie year, I do what you do. I roll it out where it's like, let's see how they play. If Garland does well and there's some interest, I either look to trade him, because like you said, odd man out, or number 2, when he gets to his RFA year, I think he's gone. I think he's the one that's either going to walk or the Cavaliers should look to trade him, because I don't see a future where Cunningham, Garland, and Sexton are all playing on this team together. Where I think it's Cade's team, Sexton maybe bounces to the 2, and it's Cade and Sexton
the whole time.
No, I know, but
he can't say bounces to 2. He's been playing the 2.
It's Cunningham and Sexton then, and then it's like Garland. Oh, you're the odd man out because we're not going to pay you as much as X team might in free agency to be a backup.
It's hard to say. We don't know what will happen with contracts. We just saw this year's batch of RFAs get their contracts from the Markelle Fultz draft.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Like, these numbers looked, average around 4 years, 60, 70, 80 million dollars for the mid-level kind of guys for average starter salary. So like, I don't know if in 3 years Garland will be, worth 15 to 20, or because the contracts have blown up and the CBA is bigger, it could be, 20 to 24 million dollars. It's very hard to predict that far out as far as what those values will look like. I mean, shit. Yeah.
Yeah. The next team though, the Knicks, they are Juju Smith dancing right now. If they are number 2, if they're number 1, great. They get Cade Cunningham. If the Knicks end up with the number 2 pick, Dave, they are still dancing because they're like, hey, we got a point guard. We got a point guard. Jalen Suggs, easy pick at number 2. Both of us have it.
Yeah, he's just been the best visual 2-way guard we've seen in this year for college basketball. Like, when you want to get like that young, kid coming right out of high school, it's like, that's the guy you follow. He's looked great. The injury scare happened. Thankfully, that was a nothing, and everybody took a deep breath after that one. But yeah, no, he's got a great shot. Yes, he is turnover prone. Well, that's something that you just deal with for young kids,
Yeah, and I mean,
I don't worry about it. You just don't.
The thing I also look at that, and yet again, maybe this is a situation of out of our draft, maybe Cade Cunningham is out of the 2, Suggs and Cunningham, Cade might be the better pick for the Cavs right now, like overall, but even though like right now, because the Cavs are not a good basketball team, they have Sexton, Okoro, and then, like, that's the future. Like, I know they've got K-Love out there, but K-Love doesn't even want to fucking be on that team.
Kevin Porter Jr. Asterisk.
Let's see what happens with his off the court issues.
Yeah.
But like, to me, I look at the Knicks, and maybe it's because I just look at the names on their team. Like, I feel like they're a team that Jalen Suggs might fit better with because of the fact of like, okay, I got RJ Barrett I can work with. I got Obi Toppin that I can work with offensively, to where like the assist numbers that maybe you're seeing at Gonzaga, maybe those can translate over to the Knicks, because it's like, oh, I've got guys to pass to here, and it's not just going to be all reliant on me.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Gonzaga does play a very, very fun offense, and it will be helpful to... Yeah, I think his experience there is good because he's playing with a team that's very pass heavy, and having RJ Barrett next to you, someone who can be a secondary ball handler and creator for you, is great. Outside of that, the rest of the roster, like, I don't know. I mean,
it's really like your team and your like key
looks good
pieces
early, but we haven't watched a regular season game.
Yeah, like RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, and what, Mitch Robb or Nick? Yeah. I never get. Do Nick fans like Mitch Robb? Hate Mitch Robb? Because I feel like it's different every day.
But Mitch Robb isn't good enough. Like what they think of Mitch Robb, where Mitch Robb's actually at.
They're overhyping him.
Yeah, Nerlens Noel's better center than him right now, and they don't want to hear that. So I'm going to get downvoted just for saying that out loud.
Because I know Knick fans don't like Julius Randle.
Yeah,
he's
awful.
Randle.
He's a spin machine out there. He's a black hole. He doesn't pass the ball. He doesn't look to pass the ball. There's just so many issues with him. But you know what?
Are you saying black hole of offense?
He's
not
what you meant by black hole? Like,
okay.
He might be the OG one before TJ Warren got the nickname.
Because, I mean, like, be careful, Dave. Black hole of offense. Someone might come at you. Dude, Julius Randle scored 40 points in this one game.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, black hole offense just means you're not passing the ball. The ball goes in. It does not come out to other teammates. Yeah. And again, he can pass. I know Sean had pegged him for the, like, this is going to be the guy who breaks out. This is the year where Julius Randle gets to show everybody he's the man. And I'm like, no, he won't. He's awful at basketball.
Yeah. But I mean, these first two picks are just like, I feel like it's going to be the Zion draft all over again, except with the first two picks.
Well, I mean, I had to twist y'all's arm pretty hard about Ja Morant.
Oh, yeah, I know. But that
took a long time. No, because you guys still had RJ up there.
Yeah, I also liked Cam too. Like, Cam was one that...
Yeah, the problem was Cam didn't play well, so nobody mocked him at 2. We kept him at 3 for the entire time almost.
Like that was a thing. Like, I looked at it, and it's like, RJ and Cam, we were like, oh, there might be more potential, but Ja is good. Probably should. So, yeah, like Zion, Ja. Or Zion and Ja. Zion, Ja. It might be the same way. Whoever's at 1, whoever's at 2, it's Cade, it's Jalen. Those are the two guys back and forth.
And it gets spicy.
Get spicy at 3, because for me, we've got the team, the OKC Thunder. They're a team that is very, very interesting in the draft because of future picks. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up really quick, because
we'll be here a while. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, how our order went, the Thunder only have, I think, 2 picks in our mock. Because, like, I was confused. I was looking at Tankathon when I was putting our order together, and I was like, how the hell do the Thunder have 3 picks? And I had to, like, I'm basically like, fuck, now I got to go through all the projections for every team. For the Thunder, this year they have their own and Miami if Houston is 1 through 4. So if Houston gets 1, 2, 3, or 4, then the Thunder have Miami's pick. Or the 2 most favorable of OKC, Miami, and Houston, but Houston has to be between 5 and 30, and least favorable to Houston. And then there's that's via the OKC swap of Miami and Houston. And they also have Golden State. So in ours, they're going to get one of those swaps. But the Warrior one, I'm going to spoil it now, they are not going to get. That is the 3rd pick in this, where if the Warriors are 21 through 30, Thunder get 3 picks in the first round. If the Warriors finish 1 through 20 in the draft, that pick will stay with the Warriors, and the Warriors will then have the T-Wolf pick, which should be a top 10 pick, and their own pick. The Thunder are a team that could do many things, Dave. In your mind, what was going through it when you had the Thunder at 3 when you took Jalen Green?
Easy. BPA. That's all it comes down to. Is just, hey, on Thunder, my team is built on taking the most shots. It's like the old school. It's like the process. Sixers, just take BPA. Don't worry about it. It'll sort itself out. You've already got a wonderful asset in why can't I think of his name? Their guard, who's literally going to be amazing again this year.
Talking about Shea
Gilgeous-Alexander. So yeah, like you've already got Shea as your like cornerstone of the new franchise, start over kind of movement. You've got a bunch of fun pieces. Darius Baisley's one of them out there playing on the forward position for you, but like they've got a whole lot of guys with potential.
Yeah.
And then they've got a whole lot of question marks. So I'm just going, hey, who do I think is the best player who's still on the board? To me, that's Jalen Green. That's a guy who is a 3-level scorer, who is a dominant guard, who can get his points, who just looks so good out there playing, and like he's just a bucket getter, and he's and again, I've seen the comps out there, I've seen the little Kobe Bryant moment. Like, I will respect the fact that he is an athletic scoring guard with decent size, and he just looks so good getting buckets. So I think the problem is his stock will be judged by what G League we do get to see. Now, I'm still very high on him. I still think he's the 3rd best prospect in this draft class. Clearly, that was my reasoning. But like, it's going to depend a lot on what we hear out of that G League stuff, and like if the G League bubble actually does come to fruition. Yeah,
and I mean, for me, there's the one of right now we haven't seen all of the stuff I've been able to watch on Green and Kuminga, obviously, because I'm including those two. It's basically it was Mobley, Green, Kuminga, who were like those are the next 3 guys who could be the BPA pick if you're going straight off of like what a big board would be.
Yeah.
But the thing that it is with like Kuminga and Green is obviously because of the bubble, the G League hasn't started yet. We haven't had to see them play.
We got to see them play intramural basically against their own veterans, and they have looked really good.
Yeah, we've got that, but all the other stuff is just high school tape. Especially for me that I was able to find on YouTube about them. So like for me, there might be a thing where this pick that I have of Evan Mobley might just be, there's recency bias there because we've actually seen Mobley play, or Mobley. Am I saying that right? Yeah, Mobley. Seen him play at USC, and like to me, the Thunder, yet again, I do this a lot of like, okay, I've got multiple picks. What do I also need? They are a team that traded Steven Adams. So it's like, there is the thing of also, and we're going to get to this a little later, there's a ton of international centers in this draft. There's a kid out of Turkey, a kid out of Segal who's playing with FC Barcelona. There's one from Germany, and then you've got like the Luka Garzas and the Day'Ron Sharps, who Day'Ron Sharp might be out of the range of the Thunder with their later pick. There are later centers, but it's like those international guys, as we get through the draft process, are they going to be more draft and stashers? Are they going to be more, because like the Thunder are a team where you are not drafting someone to be like, we need you right now. They can take someone that's like, oh, you're going to come over, but you're going to develop, because that's just what they are. They've accumulated so many picks.
They brought over Lexi.
They brought over Alexi too.
That was one that people had questions about, but like that's clearly the best route for him, and he looks great already.
So like for me, it's like, what are they going to do if Green or Kuminga jump off the page in a bubble situation in their G League games? Then obviously, yeah, it's like what you said. BPA is the way to go. But for me, it was one of those. Hey, this Evan Mobley fits a need. He's looked good out there with USC. However, as this kind of season progresses, we'll see who slides up and who slides down, especially also in the draft order of who is there. Next team at number 4, I have to pull up our mock draft because I forget who it fucking is. It's not the Pistons. They're at 6. It's the Warriors with the Timberwolves. What was your thought here? Because your pick is interesting, I think.
Yeah, so I want Evan Mobley here for the Warriors. Again, a lot of the time it's just BPA, but like the idea of having James Wiseman either be a movable piece or Evan Mobley be a movable piece was my thought. Take top of the draft. You are a very good team. You are a championship caliber team with Klay Thompson next year. So how do we make sure that we get there? Is someone like a Jonathan Kuminga, Jalen Johnson, or an Evan Mobley the guy who's going to get you there? Or is this pick going to get moved? In my mind, I think you take the shot. You take Mobley. He can either, if we saw a great year out of
Wiseman.
I already forget his name. Wiseman. Thank you. If we saw a great year out of James Wiseman, great. You can move Mobley. Like that's a guy who easily will get a lot of attention from a lot of other teams. James Wiseman didn't have a good year. Guess what? Mobley. The cool thing here is Wiseman's younger than, I think, 3 months younger than him or 2 months younger than Mobley, actually.
Is he? Here, let's see.
Yeah. It's,
Mobley is 19 and a half.
Yep. The weird thing with college basketball is like all these guys who hold themselves back a year in like grade school to get the competitive advantage to play younger kids, it's gotten ridiculous, you know?
They reclassify? You're talking about the reclassification?
Well, no, because they literally hold themselves back in a younger grade.
Yeah, but they call it, I reclassified to this class that was...
Well, no, because usually they reclassify forward back to their normal class. So the parents literally are like, my kid's going to be a basketball star in like fourth grade. I'm going to hold him back.
Yeah.
And then guess what? He's in fourth grade again. Everybody else goes on. He looks like a stud because he's 1 year bigger, stronger, faster than everybody around him. He's basically
if you're thinking junior high, he's basically a ninth grader playing against eighth graders.
Exactly.
Seventh graders.
And that's how it works out for a lot of these kids. That's why we see this age discrepancy. We've seen 20-year-old freshmen, in college before. It's a dumb thing, but it's become normal.
So Wiseman is older, but barely.
By 3 months.
Yeah, by barely. It is March 31st is Wiseman's birthday, and then June 18th. So yeah, he's...
Yeah, so there's basically no difference in age there. But James Wiseman will get a year playing with NBA coaching. Mobley, obviously, a year playing under USC. So we'll see which one ends up better. But
yeah,
I think either way, you got a big man who you can move, who a lot of teams would be interested in.
Because do you really think that to me, I went the other way of if they're gonna move, and yet again, if the Warriors are gonna trade for a piece, obviously, I think a Wiggins would have to be involved for contract. Let's say I'm just gonna throw out James Harden because that's the big contract, but it could be any star that they want to trade for. It could be like a Giannis signage or a Giannis trade down the line. Anything. Throw out any player you want. Wiggins has to be in that deal, I think, to kind of beef up the contracts. But it's would a Wiseman be involved in that deal? And what I was thinking with this mock is, with us, we think the Warriors are going to be not as bad as some people. I've seen them, like I told you, top 10 in some mock draft orders, even without just a Klay Thompson out there. Unless they think what you think is going to happen, Dave, where Steph might roll an ankle. And,
that was last year, Dave. This year, Dave thinks they're a playoff team.
Okay. I know both of us have them as a playoff team. Dave's like, don't put me on last year's Dave.
Just because I called it right last year, don't get mad at me.
I just look at it and I go, if you're going to be moving on from Wiggins in a deal like that, it depends on who they're bringing in, too. Plus, you've also got
Bradley Beal.
It could be a Bradley Beal. You also got the Warrior teams to where it's do they even need a James Wiseman? To where it's if he needs to be in the deal, sure, because they don't really need that big name recognition center because they'll just roll it through with a veteran that can fill that spot. It's hard to say that
they don't need him. We haven't seen them play with him yet. Yeah. So that's a big thing is we're doing this before the season started and before James Wiseman has played a minute. But I think the point in my mind is none of these guys will help them win a championship year one. But if they want to take the best player available, most attractive young prospect, they should go after Evan Mobley at this point. Number 4 in the draft. Honestly, between him, Kuminga, Jalen Johnson, there's very little separation for me.
Yeah.
I think all three guys are very interesting. I think if they're moving on from Draymond, I would go Jalen Johnson. But Mobley right now is higher on my big board. I think Kuminga needs the ball in his hands too much to be successful. And with Steph on that team, you don't want that. So, or you don't have the room for that, I guess.
Because I had them going with Kuminga, which is basically...
So, I guess, yeah, go through.
Like, basically for me, it was, I guess you could say BPA, because, like, I'm like you, Jalen Green and Kuminga are, like, this right now, to where it's like you could put either one over the other one, and I'm like, okay, they're almost even for me at this point.
Okay.
And like maybe I was looking at it positionally too much, where I'm like, well, Jalen Green's more of a 2. Like, can you either put him at the 2, bounce Clay to the 3? Could you put Clay at the 3, bounce Green to the 2, Green to the 3?
It's the same thing, but
like,
yes.
I was looking at it and I'm just like, or just take the 3 that's out there, Kuminga, who is obviously also could be seen as BPA, but like, you're right. If he needs the ball too much, like that's the problem with Green and Kuminga, especially for me. Like, I want to see them in this G League stuff so that I can actually see them play.
You gotta get on Twitter. That's where I found all the highlights from their G League play.
Yeah.
And I think Twitch actually might have their practices too.
Okay.
But the cool thing for me is, like, I look at Mobley and I'm like, what if they do just rock out Mobley at the 4 and Wiseman at the 5? Like, what do you do then? They're the new look Spurs from 20 years ago.
Mobley just backs up fucking Draymond at the 4. He plays like the 5 if Wiseman's not out there. Hey man.
Draymond runs the second unit.
Draymond's the enforcer of that team, man.
When you have 2 7-footers, one who can stretch the floor like Mobley can, and one who has the physicality of a James Wiseman.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be honest here. Like, even if they don't move one, I'm still taking this pick.
Okay.
I don't know what moves them forward. I think that either Wiseman, Draymond, like one, or Oubre Wiggins, like one of those 4 pieces is likely getting moved at that point.
Yeah.
But again, like I think the talent's there. I like Evan Mobley's game. He's just got a great shot for a big, and offensively gifted. We'll have to see like what happens throughout the rest of this year, and with what Wiseman brings to this team. And again, it's the Warriors, man. They're going to be a great team. It's just a matter of like if they get both pieces healthy.
Yeah, and like the Warriors to me will be an interesting team because like you say, oh, we got to see how Wiseman looks out there. Fuck it, we got to see what Wiggins looks like. Like, I know we're not going to see the trifecta of Steph, Wiggins, and Clay because of Clay's injury, but at least we're going to be able to hopefully see Wiggins not by himself, with actually Steph out there, and see if like
great in preseason play next to Steph.
To see if like, okay, is he going to be a part moving forward, or is he the movable piece to get a like Bradley Beal in here on this team? And plus the Warriors, if they suck enough this year to be in the top 20 of the draft, like they could still make the playoffs and be in that top 20. How UI and Soaps have it, they could be a team that have 2 picks instead of just their 1 from the T-Wolves.
And then 2 picks in this draft probably could get moved alongside Wiggins for Bradley Beal, and that would be huge.
Good point.
Or I'm floating on Zach LaVine. I'm just saying. Writings on the walls, maybe
for two picks, 2 picks here, and Wiggins would Wiggins be included in that deal?
Depends how he does this year.
Okay. Next team though, the Detroit Pistons. Soapy's Detroit Pistons. Yeah. He's going to be watching this, going, "Ooh, I wonder what they think about this."
Yeah.
To me, this was easy. Like, to me, if I'm the Pistons and Jalen Green is on the board, my famous quote, Dave, I'm running that ticket up to the podium because it's BPA. And plus, it's like, if Jalen Green is there, I know he wasn't for you, but like, you drafted Killian Hayes last year. You got your point guard of the future. Yeah, I know you drafted Sadiq Bey, who they might play at the 2 sometimes, could play at the 3, but he's not like a future starter. He's a guy that's going to come off the bench, give you some offense, could develop into a starter.
He could be.
He could be. I like Sadiq Bey.
Starting over right now is a prop.
Yeah. He's got Josh Jackson.
Well, Josh Jackson's balling out in preseason, and again, like, if he gets his head out of his ass, he's an extremely gifted athlete.
And stops getting his baby high.
Again, head out of ass. Yeah. That's step 1. That's all inclusive. On court, off court, both. I think the problem with that team is obviously the transition from the Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose to what is the future going to hold. You keep saying Sadiq Bey is a 2. I don't think he's got the foot speed to play the 2.
Could play, but
defend.
otherwise
I think
he's a 3.
3-4 wing. I think he's closer to a Cam Johnson than he is a Mikal Bridges as far as the wings who have come out in the last couple of years.
And also, what are we going to see from Sekou? Like
that's a big question.
Question mark.
It is. Sekou's a long-term development project. We've seen him look great. We've seen him look like just non-existent. So I agree with you. Jalen Green would be a absolute nab right now. I would take that in a heartbeat for me. I think we both see this draft in like the top is 2 brackets in my mind. It's Cade, Jalen, and then for me it's
Mobley,
Jalen,
Green, and
Kuminga, and even Jalen Johnson might be just notching in there.
I will say Jalen Johnson. The thing I will say about him, and maybe this is. I'm looking at him like you look at BJ Boston, where we're going to talk about BJ Boston later, where Duke struggles early on. It's one of those to where it's like, do I need to see you be more consistent? Or is it just Duke is not the Duke that we're used to? Where Duke, we just expect like, oh yeah, they're going to steamroll and they're going to play well in non-conference. Yet again, losing 2 home games and then bitching about it because you don't have fans. I understand the argument, but yet again, you got to play the games as they are and go and win them. Like, you can't have excuses for anything. But I do agree with you. It's Cade and Jalen at the top. Then it's
Jalen Suggs. This is the Jalen draft. We have to say the names now.
Yeah.
I just realized that. Yeah.
Cunningham and Suggs. Then it's Mobley, Green, and Kuminga are the second tier of people. I don't know if I put Jalen Johnson in there yet.
Stat lines, I know, haven't been pretty, but I think this is just someone who physically is gifted. He's got all the tools to be like. When I first saw him, I was like, "Oh, this kid's going to be the next guy to put up a 5x5 stat line." Like, he can do everything. He can score, he can block, he can assist, he can steal, he can run. Like everything you want to see out of him, he can do it. I think it's just Duke is they don't have an identity this season. They've got a lot of athletes, talent is there, but they have no idea how to use it. And I think that's the struggle we're watching right now. So, yes, I'm giving Jalen Johnson the benefit of my doubt, and I'm just giving Boston just shit stick. And I'm like,
for being on Kentucky.
Sorry. Jalen Johnson, yes. Boston, no. Right now, that's where I'm at watching the play.
I'm going to leave it for the Boston conversation.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Say, does Detroit fuck it up, though? And what I mean by that is there is a thought, especially in my mind and some other people's minds, that Blake Griffin might play good this season. They might not trade Blake. They may not trade Derek. They might run with him. And by fuck it up, I mean they don't have a top 10 pick and they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
I think that's terrible if you're a Piston fan.
Eric, you put a 1 through 16 P next to their name.
That means
is that pick protected?
That's protected. So it's a 1 through 16 protection.
So what happens if they get into the playoffs? Do they lose that pick?
I'm going to look it up. I should just keep I'm going to keep that tab that I closed out of just up. I'm like, why did I not keep the future picks up? Where are they? Let's see. By team. It is a top 16 protection. If it is, so 1 through 16, it's Detroit. 17 through 30, it's going to Houston because it was a part of the Christian Wood deal.
Gotcha.
So if they make the playoffs, Houston gets another pick. And Houston is also a team, I will get to them in a later one, where they have a possibility of having 3 picks this draft as well.
Yeah. And 1 sec.
Yeah. I mean, like, do they fuck it up and lose their pick?
I don't know. Like, so much of the season is just dependent on, like, Blake Griffin. And he looks healthy. Looks like he's – the nice thing we saw the preseason, they're just letting the kids play. Yeah. Like, he's not being like, I'm going to go get mine first. No, he's playing a nice game. I don't know. Again, we've talked about the front office wants to win games. They want to be a contender every year. That's they're okay being stuck in the middle. So it is frustrating as a fan who might want them to rebuild and restart and move on. I think if Blake is healthy, you have to move him. Yeah. I think Derrick Rose is a piece where you watch it. I think there's definitely interest out there from other teams with his contract being the way it is. So both guys I would like to see moved. I hope they don't fuck this up. The only way they finish this low is if they get injured, though. 100%. Like they had with Blake and Derek, they should not be the fifth worst team. I can't count. It's really tough.
And I think that our kind of our thinking was kind of that, like in our predictions of, oh, they are going to trade Blake. Yeah. They will move on from Derrick Rose as well. And number 6, though, we had the Spurs. And this team is, yet again, like I say this a lot, like this is kind of like my thing. Oh, this is an interesting one. To where it's like, the thing with the Spurs that intrigues me is, what are you going to do with DeMar DeRozan this year? What are you going to do at LaMarcus Aldridge? We heard trade rumors about DeMar DeRozan. We've heard rumors that he's not happy with the Spurs. He doesn't want to be in San Antonio, but he wasn't going to decline his player op. That was way too much money to leave on the table. So he's still in San Antonio right now. LaMarcus Aldridge we kind of talked about him in a media standpoint of, could he be going to the Warriors for the number 2 pick? That didn't happen. Mm-hmm. The Spurs, to me, are a team to where it's like, are they going to move on from these guys? And if they do, are they going to be a team that's realistically this high? And to me, it's like, basically, do you run it with both of them? You're finishing with maybe a late lottery, mid-lottery pick. Or are you going to trade both of them and just say, we're going to run with the young kids, see what happens, end with a high, maybe 5-6 pick, and then get a player in the draft?
Yeah, I think they'll end up somewhere in the middle of that. I don't know that they'll move both. I think they can move one of the two. They might let the other one just end out his contract kind of deal.
DeMar, right? They moved DeMar. Like, that's the one they likely move, yeah.
I would think so. I think LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't know what the value is around the league. They might take an injury, and then there would be some interest in him. But, yeah, I think that right now the most likely guy to get moved is DeMar. I just want to see... I want to see them reset, but at the same time, like, they've got some just interesting pieces on this team. Like, Lonnie Walker's a kid who I think a lot of us love the highlight reel dunks, the athleticism jumps off the page at us. But at the same time, like, he hasn't put it all together. Yeah. And meanwhile, like, Keldon Johnson came out of fucking nowheres and just looks like he's going to be the next elite defensive, two-way wing who can knock down shots. He's big, he's strong, like everything that you want out of a wing. So is he the next, like, Danny Green kind of answer? A little bit bigger, they've got a lot of pieces. That's my question. That's why I went for, like, hey, just take the utility box, man. This guy is the Swiss Army knife out there, like I talked about in Jalen Johnson. I think no matter what position he lands at for them, long term, he's a great asset to them, and he can develop his game. And I think that if Pop stays another year or two, great. He can help him out. If not, young coach has, DeJounte Murray, White, Keldon Johnson, Jalen Johnson, like, great roster to work with.
Well, and the thing you say is Swiss Army knife is what's true, because after I bring up the trade stuff, let's say they don't trade them, DeMar and LaMarcus are free agents at the end of the year.
Correct.
So, like, to me, it's like, let's say
the other, I don't know. Either one's going to be back next year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I just assume they're both like, okay, we're going to wash our hands of you guys. You guys go and continue your careers. We're going to move on. And, like, also, fucking Rudy Gay, man, is also a free agent at the end of this year. And, like, the thing I was asking in my mind,
I'll ask interest from other teams, actually. Like, he low-key is, like, probably the asset that is the trade bait.
I will ask you is, could Vassell or Keldon Johnson play the 3 for this team?
Oh, my God. I forgot they had my favorite fucking player in Devin Vassell on this team, who looked great in the preseason too.
Like, and that's the thing. Their twos are Vassell, Walker, Johnson. My first question was, could any of them play the 3?
Keldon's the 3.
Okay. Because, like,
he plays and guards the 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Like, he's mini Rudy Gay, man.
Okay.
But way better shot control because he's not greedy as shit like early Rudy Gay was. Devin Vassell is just a stud. So like, Vassell's my starting 2. Once that happens, obviously Jalen Johnson at the 3 or at the 4, Keldon Johnson at the 3 right between. So yeah, I love that lineup. You got two-way players at all positions. DeJounte Murray, I wish he would be a two-way player one day and learn how to shoot a fucking basketball. But that's okay. Still love you. Love your defense. You can get to the bucket. You're long. You're thin. It works. So, no, like, team is, they can be very good going forward. They will be the spooky team of next year.
Yeah, because, like, the 3 guys I was kind of floating around for this pick. Yeah. I settled with you, the Swiss Army knife of Jalen Johnson. But first it was like, okay, I think that they've got enough twos. They'll find someone to be their two, probably Vassell.
Yeah, he looks great.
You've got LaMarcus leaving. You've got Trey Lyles leaving. Luka is the next best four, or other Luka is the next best four.
Watch him get more minutes this year.
He gets
up, man. Like, he's a kid who, like, when he got on the court last year, it was like perma green light in his eyes. And I'll be honest, Pop was like, how would you can slow it down there a little bit? Like, you're not our only offensive weapon out there.
Yeah.
But when he gets going, It's fun.
So, but like, I had to decide Jalen or Scotty Barnes because they're both fours.
Yes.
And yet again, looking at film, was like, I like Johnson better than I like Barnes.
Yeah.
But then the other thing for me was, do the Spurs take a kind of shock pick here, Zaire Williams? Because he's one that's in my top 10 that I'm like, the thing with him is he's not a finished product. And it's basically like the whole Family Guy bit of like, he could be a boat. You know how much we wanted a boat? And like, I was looking at Rudy Gay, I'm like, is Keldon Johnson going to be the four? Then Zaire Williams can develop behind him, kind of a thing. Is that where they're going to go? But then I was like, you know what? Jalen Johnson is just too much to pass up at 6.
I like Jalen Johnson over Scotty and over Zaire. Like, I think we'll see in time. Scotty has a better chance of jumping him in my mind. And again, maybe it's just Florida State's a fucking factory. Yeah. And that's what we're realizing. I think that's the problem. Watching Devin Vassell and Patrick Williams look as good as they have in preseason games. Yep. And again, I can only hype up preseason games so much, people. I understand the context is preseason. It doesn't actually count for anything.
I mean, we hyped up Summer League, Dave. You're wearing the fucking sweater.
And that would go again. It's a hoodie, by the way. It's a hoodie.
Hoodie sweater. Like, it keeps you warm at night.
True. Point being, they both looked extremely well. And now I think we're starting to take Florida State as they just keep pumping out really good talent. Jonathan Isaac out of Florida State, really good. They just have a pedigree now. I think Florida State has become that team.
Speaking of Florida State and Scotty Barnes, both you and I had them to the Kings, which is the next pick.
Yeah.
Both had them.
And again, I like how it's like chalk. Oh, you fucked up with BJA next. But I was like, we almost had all of our wings just going ding, ding, ding right in a row in the same order. That would have been fun.
But what was your thought with the Kings with Scotty Barnes?
Just, I hate to say it. BPA is just so lazy on my end. But like, the Kings are a team that clearly Harrison Barnes is their wing. Like, there's no question. Bagley is a mystery box of like, if he's healthy, what could he be? But we haven't seen him be healthy for 2 seasons. So this year's a proving year for him to find out if he is their four of the future, if he's the long-term answer. I think Scotty Barnes provides like a little bit of everything. I like what he looks like on the defensive end. I think offensively, he's going to keep growing his game out a little bit more, but he can do just about everything they want. And I think growth-wise, like, behind Harrison Barnes is a perfect position for him to learn.
And because the thing I was looking at is, okay, you have De'Aaron Fox. You've locked him down. Yeah. So he's your starting one. You also have your backup one in Tyrese Halliburton. So you got your point guards locked down.
Some would say.
Right now, Buddy Hield is on the trade market, or at least in the media, is on the trade market. But right now, he would be the starting 2. Plus, like, I like guys like they have. Like, I like Robert Woodard, who they got. I believe they got him. He was in this year's draft. Also, Jamias Ramsey, too. Young guy.
Jamias Ramsey can sling it.
Like, Harrison Barnes, like, they've got their starting 3 right now in Barnes, although he's been in trade rumors. To me, the big question mark was it was Bagley and the centers, to where it was like, when I did my top 10, I will say this, a guy we're going to talk about later in Sharp from UNC was not in top 10s of anything. And then, like, I was looking at big boards, and I was like, how the fuck is he rising so high? We're going to talk about him later, obviously.
Yeah.
But I looked at it, and I was like, okay, there's a bunch of after Scotty Barnes, there's a lot of 2s and like combo guards and 1s. Right. And it's like the only other 3 in there was Keontae Johnson, which we'll talk about. We'll start the 11 through 20 just with our little disclaimer about Keontae.
He's not in the draft.
He's not. No. He's not in the draft. But like, for me, it was just if I did this with Day'Ron Sharp up there, I don't know if I would have taken Day'Ron Sharp here. I still would have went with Scotty Barnes. And it's mainly the thing of he can be the backup behind Bagley year one. And then basically you can make your decision of like, if you like Barnes better, you can either let Bagley walk or try to actively move him because Bagley's RFA year is after next season.
Right, yeah. So he's got plenty of time. They already exercised club option. Like, there's no question about him. They're not going to Harry Giles him like idiots again, you know? You'd think so. Yeah, the center's an interesting position for them. The only guy I could see going up here is Usman Garaba, and he is kind of, I don't know. It's tough because he's not going to do anything for you offensively that's crazy good. Like, he's got okay size. He's, an undersized 5, but he's got great defensive prowess. He's been playing professionally for years now in Europe and high level competition. He knows exactly what he's doing out there. He's a smart player, great defender. He can pass the rock a little bit. People will inevitably hit the point of, is he the next Bam? Because that's our yearly draft conversation now. Sorry, but that's where we're at. Thank you, Big O, for being last year's Bam. Now we're going to be moving over to Usman Garaba being this year's Bam. He's the only guy I can move up there. But to me, the gap between him and someone like Scotty Barnes, just I don't have it yet. I don't know yet. He could move up. I haven't watched a ton on his play in the last 2 months. So anything he's put on tape recently, I've only seen like 8 seconds of highlights, probably, to be blatantly honest. Yeah. Scotty, watch more gameplay. Like you said, there might be some recency bias, but they really just need a backup wing right now. And I think Scotty is perfect for it. And I think he can grow into a starter over time.
The next team, the Hornets. This was one where I had honestly a couple of guys you could have gone with. And it's really
Hornets are a tricky one, yeah.
It's based off of what you like. Because the first one I'll throw out there is Jaden Springer. He's going to be kind of the first, like, at this range, like, combo guard. Because he can play the 2. He's got some point guard in him. But, like, I looked at him and I went, I got LaMelo Ball. I don't want anyone that is going to clash with LaMelo Ball. Like, just no way. LaMelo's got to be my assister. The passes that we've seen in preseason have been insane. So he's got to be the one facilitating for everyone. So that's where I kind of, like, push Springer off the board here.
Yeah.
Then it was a question of, do I go 2 or 3? Because first off, if it was 3, Zaire Williams is the guy here. Maybe Keontae Johnson would have been the guy if he was in our draft. But like Zaire Williams would have been the guy. He's the next high, like the BPA for 3s. The question is, how do you view this Hornet team? Because at the 2, it's basically Malik Monk, who he's an RFA at the end of the year. Right now they've got
Rozier.
Well, okay, Dave, you're gonna get mad at this because it's not exactly what you're listing.
On the website that is not truthful. Terry Rozier's are starting.
I'm just saying, like Terry Rozier's going to start at the 2, but yet again, like, would he be starting for the 2 if they didn't have Ball or Graham? That's the thing.
Yeah, if you took away the team's 2 point guards, then yes, he would be their starting point guard.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that, the thing I don't like about Terry Rozier is he's a point guard playing the 2. Like, that's what I don't like about him.
Last year, the point was that he is not a point guard, clearly. Yeah, he cannot facilitate on the level required to get the offense involved and to score for himself. He clearly works better off ball, being facilitated, set up. They literally had to drag Devontae Graham, who was carrying a second unit and making them look too good because their fucking $20 million acquisition can't bounce a ball on his own.
Let's put it this way. Terry Rozier, in my mind, not the future for the Hornets. I think he's a nice piece, but he's their 2 guard at the moment. And that's why with me, I went into the shooting guard aspect of it, to where it's like, okay, Gordon Hayward, that's another discussion of like, Gordon, can you play him at the 2 if you went with if you had a guy at the 3? I like keeping him at the 3. Don't bounce him to the 2.
Yeah.
And that's why it's basically, in my mind, it became a BJ Boston, Moses Moody, or James Bouknight. Which one do you like out of the 3? I ended up going with BJ Boston because I feel like he is going to be one that we look at to where the people I feel like that hate him right now only hate him because Kentucky is dog shit.
He's also dog shit. That's the problem.
Elaborate.
I'm just like, you can say Kentucky is bad because they're bad.
Yeah,
they're a bad basketball team. They clearly, like I said earlier, do not have an identity. Yeah. They're a bad team. I mean, they're not Huh. Yeah. It's like they're not Duke bad, but they're like Duke is up here. Kentucky is somehow down in this range, you know?
Yeah. 1-5, right?
I think so.
Have they
They're
changed?
They might be 1-6 now.
Okay. They might have lost again.
I mean, you blink, they could lose a game. The point is, they're a very bad team, and BJ Boston, who is a longer, taller scoring guard out there, like he has not shot well. The shots he's taking, the motion's not awful. That's the good news. The shooting motion isn't bad. You know, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. But when it comes to his shot selection, when it comes to how he plays off ball, there are lots of room for improvement. That's what I'll say, to be nice. Lots of room for improvement. I just called the man dog shit, and I'm like, let me put it nicely.
Well, the thing that I think of BJ Boston, and this is kind of like from what I've been reading and seeing, is there have been comparisons out there. The one comparison that I've thought of is like, oh, on the high end, he could be a BI type player. There's also a comparison of Jeremy Lamb. So like for me, in my mind, I've kind of developed the opinion of, so okay, if you're comparing him to BI, you're saying, well, he could develop into a good scorer for your team, has the ability to score. The main thing that BI's problem was coming out was that he was thin. It was the Kevin Durant problem.
He's rail thin, but BI was also 2 inches taller than him. BI was in college at 6'9", but BI was also shooting well in college.
Yeah.
That's the problem. We are taking 5 to 7 games, almost 10 games for some of these kids, and trying to extrapolate like, hey, here's who they're going to be. So like, obviously this season we're working with much less info than, you know, normally at this point of the year, but based off what we've seen, I can see why people want to make that comp because of his lack of muscle.
Yeah.
But like when he adds it on, could he be BI? Could he be, you know, closer to a who's the oversized Chris Mid? Like, you know, just a bigger shooter out there. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
To put simply, I don't know yet. No one knows yet. I don't see BI out of him. I think BI had a fantastic handle and was able to get to his spot on the court at will. The problem with him was obviously the players around him and the setup in the Lakers. And it wasn't until later on that we got to see who BI really was. I think Boston's just playing without a system. So like it hurts, but at the same time, he's not at a loss for shots. So we should see something.
And to clarify, when you say Boston, you mean BJ Boston, not the Celtics. Because some people might, like you said Boston, I was like, where did the Celtics come on into this? And I didn't realize his last name was Boston.
The prospect's name is Boston.
But
yeah,
I said it to you. Like, I was like, do they have a point guard on that team? Because like when I was all the stuff I see on that like Kentucky team, it's like I don't know who the other guard is on Kentucky off the top of my head. But it's like from all the film I saw, it's like sometimes you're the point guard, sometimes I'm the point guard, sometimes you're the ball handler. And it's like that's okay for some teams, but like. To me, I couldn't tell. It's like, well, should I think of you more as a 2 or should I think of you more as a 1? Because what are you really doing for your team? Or are you a 2 that is being forced to play the 1 in some situations? Right,
and that is a lot of the problem. Like Terrence Clark seems to play best with the ball in his hands, but he's not a traditional point guard.
Yeah.
Davion Mintz, I don't really like a ton, but he is leading the team in assists still. So like, I think they're still looking. They don't have that point guard. They don't have that system for an offense set up. So, yes, you do see Brennan Boston with the ball in his hands a lot. But, again, like, the dude's jacking up 15 shots a game.
Yeah.
That's what he is. Like, he's not terrible, but he can't hit from 3 right now, which hurts his game a lot because, obviously, the modern game, if you can't make a 3, then what's your value truly at the top of the draft? But he can do a lot of things well. It's just... as a shooter, you need to be a shooter. Right now, he's only got half his game. You know?
Yeah, and like that's the thing too with the Hornets. I do kind of think of it's like you've got a guy like LaMelo. You don't want a guy like maybe BJ Boston's a bad pick here. Maybe it is a bad pick in my mock because it's like I'm thinking you'd want more of a shooter that LaMelo can behind the back pass out to rather than I'm gonna pass to you and then you're just gonna drive in to the clogged lane that I have already clogged.
Yeah, I mean, there is that as a problem. So we'll see. Like as the year goes on, maybe he will get better looks if they do figure out a point guard answer. But like,
But
if he's playing without a point guard, then yeah, his
yeah.
spacing will be fucked. His off ball plays will not look great because obviously, how much of a setup are you getting? What quality of looks are you getting? There is no gravity on that offense outside of him, so he's getting the best defender on the other team. Like there are a lot of reasons why it could be building up this way.
Because you want otherwise, you want Zaire. You want
I did. I like the idea of Zaire. Mostly because I think I dislike Miles Bridges as a long-term answer. I think Miles Bridges is capped. I think that he is not going to get much better. I would love to see them go after Zaire. I think even with Gordon Hayward's contract, you have to understand that the man likes to get injured. He's not injury prone because everything seems to be different, but he's just unlucky. He's perhaps the unluckiest basketball player we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
But he keeps coming back, which is nice. I think Zaire has a lot of potential. He's someone who it's like you watch him play, and there are moments in the game where you're like, you could just spot that guy in the corner. Like, yeah, he's gonna be special. Like for a series of plays, he just looks like he gets cooking. He's not necessarily the center point of an offense right now, but I think we're gonna watch the season go on and see what more he can do. But right now, he just looks like he's got a little bit of the right moves and maybe a little something special on the side.
Next team, the Orlando Magic. I have to ask you something, Dave.
Yeah.
Why'd you have them go with Jaden Springer? They're a team that yesterday just extended Markelle Fultz, drafted Cole Anthony next year. So are you thinking Springer is going to be more of the two than the one in his combo guardness?
Yeah, I do. Look, I think Jaden Springer seems to be a great shooter, great scorer, good two-way player, which is what you always want to see at the guard position. So, again, this is just value. Fournier, done. He's done after this year. He's out of there. Now, I think we're going to see, in my mind, I love the idea of a three-guard setup with Fultz, Cole Anthony, and Springer being able to run it because all three of those guys have a tenacity to their game. Markelle Fultz is sly. He can get to the rim at will. I think Cole Anthony, what we've seen so far is like, give that kid spacing, and oh my God, does he play with a level of aggression that he just attacks. And on defense, he seems very try-hard, which is not what we saw, but to be fair, he was playing in less than ideal circumstances. I think Springer would be a perfect third guard to that lineup, and it gives you the options of, they're not necessarily a three-guard kind of team, but they would have a great lineup and a ton of opportunities. Again, two-way guard, good ball handler, good scorer. Like, I just don't see a reason to not take him here. I think that Jonathan Isaac is the future wing. I think Chuma's a future wing. You've already got Aaron Gordon, who you might be stuck with right now, and Vucevic is too good to move on from Mo Bamba, who best thing about him is his damn song. It's like where would you say that like going wing here? Where's the room? That's my question. And is I look at their wing position. I go like, you got Chuma, you got AG, and you got Isaac. Yeah. I know everybody wants to chip AG out of town, but like it's just not that easy. Clearly,
I mean the thing for me and like the only reason why I went wing here because originally I did my top 10 before the extensions went out.
Oh, okay.
I had Io here, and the reason why I had Io DeSumo here was I was like, well, let's see what they do with Markelle Fultz. Yeah. Maybe they move on from him. They draft Io. They have Io and Cole Anthony, where you have Io run the second unit, maybe Cole Anthony then is your starting point guard. But then we've also seen situations where, like in Illinois, where Adam Miller coming out was a point guard at Morgan Park. Yeah. Now him and Io are playing next to each other, so maybe you can run sets with Cole Anthony and Io. But I was mainly looking at it with Markelle is gone. You can get one of the next best point guard in the draft in my mind. But then they extended Markelle. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, yes, Zaire Williams is a wing and they've got a lot there. But to me, from everything I've read and what I've seen, Zaire Williams kind of like, he sounds like more of a project is what people are talking about.
Yeah, he's got room for improvement more so than like Scotty Barnes probably still has more room for improvement, but Scotty Barnes has shown a little bit more. I think Zaire, we haven't seen enough out of him to be like, this kid's a superstar, but he's a project. I agree with that.
Like, could he be like Zaire Williams if the Magic drafted him? Could he take maybe the like Keldon Johnson approach with the Spurs of like, hey, you're on this team, we're drafting you. You might play more in the G League your rookie year because we just don't have the spot for you on the main roster. So maybe he's more in the G League, but like I even look at it kind of like without the injury, the Chuma Okc approach of like, hey, you're not rehabbing an injury, you're just going to get better your rookie year while we keep going, and then we'll decide what we do with this team. If we trade in Aaron Gordon, move on from a James Ennis, like a spot will open up for you your sophomore year, your second year.
They added Gary Clark, which I think was a low key like, you know, they I should say re-signed him, but
yeah,
bringing him back was a great move. I think they could add one more wing. I guess it's just a question of like Dwayne Bacon seems to be like they've got him slotted in as a big three right now with obviously Isaac out. But yeah, the rookie year being a top 10 pick and being told to play in the G League, I don't think that's going to fly. Like, I agree that might give them the best results because he's a project, but
I mean, or because Dwayne Bacon's
time on the main roster is probably going to be more beneficial for him.
Or do they look at it and they go, you know what? Like, we got this kid here. Dwayne Bacon's 1.8 next year is not guaranteed.
Oh, he's a nothing. He's not a long-term guy. He's a filler this year.
Yeah, they just toss him. Because right now their expiring contracts after this year are, if this page would stop reloading on me, you've got Jordan Bones on RFA.
Bones.
You've got Evan Fournier as an unrestricted.
He's gone. Yeah.
Kareem Maine as an RFA.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like, he's a project, and we talked about him last summer. And he has upside for days, but again, he will need time. He's a G League guy. I can't wait to see him.
And then Ennis and Birch are UFAs.
Yep. So again, they're one trade away though from needing that wing. That's I guess you're not wrong to take a wing here. I don't think there's any position outside of center that would raise questions for people. Center's the only one because it's just Vucevic is an all-star. They're not moving from him. Bamba hasn't proven he can take the minutes. Birch has gotten more time than he has almost, and like it's not like Bamba can't play, but it's just we haven't seen Bamba be that guy yet.
Yeah. And then Dave, number 10, rounding out our top 10, which usually goes long.
Yeah, it does.
It does. And then everything gets a lot
for a
quicker.
while today.
It's about an hour 7 top 10
Love
today.
it.
Yet again, I did ask the Cade Cunningham Suggs conversation to start, so that kind of took up some time.
You knew what you were getting into.
I knew what I was. But like, Dave, the Bulls, for those of you who don't know, I'm a Bulls fan. Dave's a Bulls fan. We're Chicago guys. I hated this pick. I hated making this.
You hated it.
So I hated this pick before I moved Ayo Dosunmu out of the Magic. After I moved that, I'm like, fuck it. Like, Ayo to the Bulls. I'm just going to slot him here because realistically, as a Bulls fan, I almost am looking at this position going, man, I wish there was a good stretch 4 here. Like,
what do you mean?
If there was if Jalen Johnson was here, I would have put him here. If there was a Scotty Barnes here, I would have put him here because the biggest question mark for the Bulls, and yet again, we're going to talk about this on Sports Live, so we don't have to get into a lot of it. Just this is the big question mark. Lauri Markkanen, is he going to be here next year or will he be playing somewhere else? Because to me, that is the biggest need on this team then, because we've got Kobe looks locked in as our point guard. Levine looks locked in as our 3. Patrick Williams, already through preseason, Bulls fans are saying, just Billy Donovan, just start him. Just start him day 1 and never look back at Otto Porter. And then we got, Wendell at the 5.
I think long-term we might see Patrick Williams move over to the 4.
Okay.
And I think that means we can run another guard. And I think that means that Moses Moody would be a great addition to our team because he's 6'6", he's got good athleticism, great stroke, good defense. Like he literally if I'm being blatantly honest, I do expect Levine to potentially be moved.
Okay.
I don't know that I would move him again. For someone who's going up his stat line, he's great. Especially on that contract. We'll see what the re-up contract looks like. That's my concern.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of teams around the league who would love to have him and might pay a premium for that. But I just look at Moody and I'm like, look, man, behind Kobe and Zach, what do we got at the guard position? Not asking you, like,
we've got Archie Diacono has a team out for next year.
Okay, Archie Diacono, That's my fucking twin. I can top knot like Arch. I can get the top knot going too, but like he's not. He's capped.
Yeah.
He is who he is.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you shouldn't have to expect more out of that.
Temple and Valentine are UFAs at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Temple
one of those guys are going anywhere.
Temple was only brought in for just veteran leadership this year.
Yeah, he already gave us COVID. Thanks, Gary Temple.
Yeah, thanks. But like Satoransky's an interesting one because he's got $10 million next year, but it's non-guaranteed.
Correct.
So like the Bulls could cut him if they want.
That's what I'm saying. Like we got nobody off the bench now because we moved Kobe to the start, and I totally love that move. And Sato can run the second unit as the 2, Otto Porter at the second unit with him. That gives us 2 great passers out on the floor at the same time. I love that. Honestly, I do. But the problem is that we need someone who can get buckets for us off the bench to start, and we need someone who can transition into a starter should we decide to pull the trigger on a Levine deal.
Yeah.
And that is where I look at like, hey, or we just move Levine down to the 3 or Moody. Either one of these guys. Like, I think Moody is 6'6". He could continue to grow. He could be 6'7". Move him to the 3. Patrick Williams to the 4. Fuck Markkanen, he's gone. And then there we go. Like, I just look at give me more firepower because we don't have young guns. Again, Denzel Valentine is a 26-year-old who hasn't done shit.
Is it bad that you sold me on my own pick?
No, your pick is
like
good too.
You sold me on it because like I'm sitting there, as soon as you said Patrick Williams to the 4, which I thought about, but like I was thinking
totally
like he could.
Joe's gotten 1 through 5 already, Ricky.
But is he more of a 3 than a 4? That's the thing. I was like, oh my god, what were we saying in draft process? I've already pushed all that out of the mind.
We already said he's a wing. He can guard anything, but in the NBA he will be a 3 or a 4.
Like you're selling me on my pick even because it's like, all right, Williams moves to the 4.
Io is a great pick.
Levine moves to the 3. Kobe White moves to the 2, where most people wanted to put him last year. Yeah. And then you got Io DeSumo, basically, boom, your main point guard. Or you can say, you know what, we need a bench guy. Io DeSumo can score off the bench for you and run that second unit.
Either way, I think Io's a great pick. I went for the younger prospect, if I'm being blatantly honest. I think Io, the ball in his hands more, and that's my problem with this team is I think that Kobe needs the ball in his hands, Zach needs the ball in his hands. I want that off-ball magic.
Yeah.
I want that guy who doesn't need a ton of touches to get his, and I think that Moses Moody has that ability.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for top 10, Dave. 1 through 10. We usually go through every team for top 10. Now it kind of loosens up a little bit, and we kind of just hit guys we want. Before we do, I've got one PSA that I got to throw out there. I forgot to do this at the top. No big deal, but in case you're wondering, if you're watching this and you're going, man, I would love to get this a week before anyone else, Dave. If you want our other mock drafts a week before anyone else can listen to them, patreon.com/MVPvids. If you are supporting us at the gold or platinum level, so gold, $10 a month, you get this a week before anybody else. So if you want our mock draft content even earlier, then you want to get it and support us in the process, boom, you can go ahead and get our content earlier. Forgot to say that earlier on. Dave, we'll move on 11 for 20. This is where we're going to spotlight some guys. We're not going to talk about every team, but we will give our draft first. So for 11 through 20, I'm going to let you take it away. Who you got?
Sure. At number 11, I've got the Grizzlies taking Greg Brown out of Texas. At 12, I've got the Pelicans taking James Bouknight out of UConn. At 13, it's the Pacers taking BJ Boston out of Kentucky. We talked about him earlier. 14, I've got the Thunder taking Usman Garaba out of Spain. At 15, I've got the Suns taking Deshaun Nix out of the G League Ignite team. At 16, can't count, Hawks are taking Josh Christopher, the guard out of ASU. At 17, the Wizards taking Io DeSumo, guard out of Illinois. At 17, I got the Wizards taking Roko Prkacin from Croatia. At 18, I've got the Jazz going Jared Butler from Baylor. I wish he went to Butler. That'd be so cool. And at 20, Raptors going with Day'Ron Sharpe out of UNC.
I'm going to correct you. I said Jazz twice. You got Jazz with Roko and then the Warriors with Butler.
Warriors, I apologize. Yeah. Warriors at 19 taking Jared Butler.
And also, the one thing I should have said, and maybe I'll say it after I give mine. So the Grizzlies at 11, I've got them going with Day'Ron Sharpe, center out of UNC. Then I got the Pelicans going with Good Night Book Night, James Book Night, the guard out of UConn. Dave came up with that, and I'm just going to roll with it all year. It's too good now.
It's going to stick.
We have to claim it now before other people claim it. Because there's going to be some play-by-play guy that claims it, and we're going to be able to say we said it first. Give us our royalties. But then I've got the Pacers at 13 going Jaden Springer out of Tennessee. The Thunder via the Rockets going with Corey Kispert out of Gonzaga. The Suns going with Moses Moody out of Arkansas. Hawks going with Josh Christopher, our boy Retro, loving Josh Christopher earlier this season. He's going to be an Atlanta Hawk. The Wizards going with Dacian Nix out of the G League Ignite team. The Jazz at 18 going with Greg Brown out of Texas. The Warriors going with Alperen Segun. I think it's Segun with an accent. International, he's out of Turkey, the center. And then the Raptors going with Keon Johnson out of Tennessee. Two things. One PSA, if for me on the international side, if you know how to say a name better than me, fucking just tell me down below. Yeah. I am not fucking perfect.
His name.
Dave looked up fucking Roko's name for like 10 minutes.
I literally tried to listen to an interview. I can't speak the language. I could not hear a name in there that I recognized.
Dave can't speak Croatian.
So I literally found the highlights from a game. I think it was his U16 game that was in English. So I'm hoping that announcer was right.
Yeah. Also, the protections here. Warriors have their pick at 19 here because they have a 1 through 20 protection on it. Otherwise, it's going to the Thunder if it falls between 21 and 30. And the Jazz have a weird protection, Dave. Theirs is, so they keep the pick if it's 1 through 7 or 15 through 30. Otherwise, it is going to go to, I don't know the team it goes to. If it's in, I think it's like 8 through 16. If it's 8 through 16, it goes to the Memphis Grizzlies. 8 through 14, I'm sorry. So if they have the 8th through 14th pick, Memphis gets that pick from the Utah Jazz, but in this case, it stays with them. First guy I want to talk about here, we had BJ Boston down. We're going to push him to the side, obviously, because I think we said, we're not going to hit him in the 1 through 10. We ended up hitting him, so we're not going to rehash a conversation. But Day'Ron Sharpe out of UNC, this is a guy where when I started putting together this mock draft, he was lower. He was like in the mid to late teens. Now he's shot up to, on some big boards, I've seen top 10 or just outside the top 10. Both you and I have him outside the top 10. I have him obviously at 11. You have him all the way at 20 with the Raptors. Is there something we're missing here, or is this just a kid where it's like he's just going to get higher and higher as the season keeps going?
I'm waiting to see what everybody else sees because I'm not at that point yet. I did not see anything out of him that screamed top 10 pick to me. But hey, like, yes, he's got good size. Yes, he's got good strength. He's got good instincts blocking shots. Like, it's just I haven't seen anything that screams top 10 to me yet. And again, maybe it's because I don't value the center position as highly as other people. Because I think that you can find replacement centers unless there's something special center a la Evan Mobley. I don't know that I'm going to put you in my top 10. Like that's where I'm at. Yes, he can get points, but he'll do it the hard way kind of answer, you know? And I respect that, but I want modern centers. You know how
you know how we were talking about, I think it was Isaiah Stewart. Was Isaiah Stewart the old man game?
Yeah. That's Sharpe. He's big, he's strong.
Yeah, Sharpe is everything I saw on film was pass it into him. He's gonna like body up the guy back to the basket and then put it up. Like, yeah, he can rebound, and like the the scouting report I'm looking at here puts it better than I just did. Can carve up space in the paint, where he kind of makes his own. It's just the one thing of like is a team, and that's why like the Grizzlies to me were a team where I thought he may fit if he goes like as high as 11 because they already have Jonas Jalen Junis out there. He would then have to change his name. It would be J-Jon Jarp.
I think J-Ron sounds better. So
J-Ron Jarp is what his name would be.
That would work out well.
I don't know, man. They can't have two triple J's on the Grizzlies.
Yeah,
you got
Jaren
Jackson Jr. You can't have J-Jon Jarp on there too. But I mean, I just look at it and I go, he's one I'm going to circle the rest of the year because it's going to be like, okay, what is everyone else seeing about him? And is it just going to be a thing where it's like, do we look at him the same way we looked at Isaiah Stewart, where it's like old man game kind of a thing? Some team might take
Everybody got hyped about
stab on him
to start the year because the numbers look great. But then when you watch the game, it's like, how's this going to translate?
Yeah.
And that's my problem. Like, if I'm looking for a big in this class, like I want Greg Brown. I get it. One's a center, one's more of a 4, but like Greg Brown can kind of play small ball 5 for you in certain setups. I like him a little bit more. I think Day'Ron, unless he does something special, I don't see him jumping in my top 10. I'm not on the same page with everybody else in this one.
Yeah, but let's move on into the first team we're going to look into. And for me, the biggest questioning team of when I got to their pick was the Indiana Pacers. Of what the hell do you do? Like, I think it's because we got to answer the question or wait to see the answer to the question of what's Vic's future going to be. Are they going to be able to come to an agreement to lock him down and re-sign him after the season? Are they going to trade him by mid-season? I think it's March 21st is the trade deadline this year. So somewhere in March, are we going to see him moved? Like, both you and I have guards. I have the combo guard and Springer. You have BJ Boston there. But, like, is that the thing? Because you've also got Miles Turner, who could also be moved with the Pacers as well.
No, I mean, that's all the unknowns in this team does create so much uncertainty, so much that like we have them being a 13 technically is like the last teams that would make the qualifying tournament for the playoffs, right? It'd be one of those teams because technically,
because the lottery ends at 14.
Well, the lottery ends at 14, but there's a play-in tournament too.
I know.
Still,
yeah.
So like technically, they would be in the play-in tournament.
Yeah, no, they definitely would.
So we've got them just on the outside, basically, of the top 8 from the East. And that's mostly due to the fact we don't know. I mean, I look at this team and just say, hey, who are my guarantees? Domantas Sabonis, T.J. Warren, and the present Malcolm Brogdon. Beyond that, Holiday's a nice piece. He's not really anything special yet. He just looks clean. He's a good, clean player. Goga's good as a backup center, but you know, outside of that, you need answers. So if you have that big of a hole at the wing, I think for me, I had a genuine potential score in BJ Boston because he hits that point of like where potential versus results. Like at some point when you fall, it's gonna balance out. And like at this point, he was too good to pass up. Pacers, if you're trying to swing for another star, BJ Boston has a chance to be that.
And the thing that I'm even going to throw out there is like with Oladipo and trade rumors. At this point, if you're looking to trade Oladipo, if you're the Pacers, who are you even looking to trade for? Like they're not a team that, yet again, like the Rockets have said they opened up to talking to playoff teams, but really the ones that everyone's focusing in on is the Philadelphia Ben Simmons trade.
Yep.
And then the Brooklyn with everything that Brooklyn's got to pair him up with KD and Kyrie. Some people have thrown out the Warriors or the Clippers, but like
even the Heat were tossed down. The Heat were like, nah, we're good.
Yeah, but I mean, like even with the Pacers, they would be a playoff team, but like, are they going to be in a James Harden deal, or are they going to be in a deal to, hey, we want to get picks and either young players for Oladipo?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think they're a team that's probably just going to try to keep him. Like he has changed his mind publicly, and I don't know what his value is because he had such a bad year. I don't want to go anywhere
else anymore.
He had a bad year. We can just say it out loud. Like he got injured when he came back from his injury. He wasn't the same player. Let him come back this year and play a full year, be healthy. See what you actually have. I think that regardless, what we've seen is as a small town team, you probably are going to have to repay to keep people, and you're going to have to pay higher. So like, if you want Vic to stay long term, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the problem is he feels frustrated himself, and he feels like the team's already written him off a little bit. So if he comes in this year and has a great start and looks good, I don't think you have to move on from him. I think this is just a lot of media likes to stir, and you know, sometimes it just better opportunity, grass is greener somewhere else.
I mean,
but I don't know where somewhere else will be.
The somewhere else to me is if he's getting traded, it's to a team like the New York Knicks. And what I say that is a team that wants a star player. They can't get one to sign there. So, hey, let's trade for one. But then you're giving up like either young players like a Mitch Robin picks, or you're giving up a Kevin Knox and picks. Like, I'm not saying the Pacers would want Kevin Knox, but like I'm trying to avoid RJ being in that deal, because RJ would not be in that deal if I'm the Knicks. But like that's a place, or like Miami would be good for him. But yet again, does Miami want to add a Victor Oladipo? And if they're going to be giving up,
to do that,
yeah, I mean, or they want to give up their young talent
and something else, like that could be a big problem for them, because they rely on that spacing that allows Jimmy Butler to do what he does.
Yeah, like does Oladipo and Jimmy clash in play style? Like that's the thing. Yet again, you mentioned what was it with the Raptors? You said that what with the Spurs? You mentioned a Kyle Lowry injury.
Oh,
could a Kyle Lowry injury mean Oladipo instead of DeMar DeRozan?
Well, no, I think I had said if C-Scam gets hurt and that team is like out of the playoff picture for some awful reason, which I think Lowry could probably still drag him with Fred VanVleet into the playoffs, but like it'd be more interesting. I could see like a team like the Utah Jazz trying to
don't forget the Baines trade.
Yeah, the Baines trade, real afraid. I think a team like the Jazz would try to capitalize on that and pick up a Conley for Lowry kind of deal to swing that, and they would have to pay a hefty price, but like. You know, it puts them in a better position to win, perhaps. That was that one. I didn't have it. The Spurs are just fucked. Like DeMar DeRozan, sure. You could swap Victor Oladipo for DeMar DeRozan. Be my guest.
But like at the end of the deal, like
fucking no one.
Are you going to try to then keep Vic in San Antonio long term?
Yeah, they could. Why not?
The other team was. What did you say?
Like we talked about that. If San Antonio added Victor Oladipo, lineup of DeJounte, Vic. Player out of FSU that I can't remember, Keldon Johnson and
Vassell.
Yeah, Vassell, Keldon Johnson. That would be a very good team. Like it'd be a very entertaining team to watch. So I think Vic, everybody wants to move him. I don't think the Pacers have to move him, but I am still swinging for the fences. That's what I'm doing with this pick. This is my BJ Boston is swing for the fences. If you miss, like, fuck it. You don't even care.
The other team was the Suns, because for me, it's more of a Chris Paul's going to stay. So you're like, do you draft a point guard? Because we all thought they were going to take Kyra Lewis Jr. Like Kyra Lewis Jr. So it was either Kyra or like the Okoro, but Okoro wasn't there at that time. Like I'm thinking mock draft wise, or like a Devin Vassell. We were thinking like the 3-wing, but it's like, hey, you can go out and take a Lewis Jr. if you want. They shocked us by going with Jalen Smith. So, like, for me, this is one to where I had a little bit of trouble picking this one at first. Before I had, like, to me, the only reason I went with Moses Moody was because you had Moody at 10. The Suns are at 15, so I know it's only 5 picks. But for me, it's like, I'm going Dave here. I'm going like, oh, well, this is obviously BPA. Could he clash with Devin Booker? Maybe. But, like, that's the thing. Like, do you pass up? For me, if Moody's there, do you pass him up and go with maybe a guy like you have in Daishen Nix?
Yeah, I mean, I just my idea is you need a backup point guard. I don't care how good Chris Paul is. He's old, and he is not getting better. And you need to admit it and wake up. And, again, him accepting that $44 million option, not a guarantee, actually. Okay. Weirdly enough, not a guarantee. James Harden turned down $50 million.
Good point.
If Chris Paul wants to go play with LeBron James, then he'll go play with LeBron James. If he wants to go play with Steph Curry, he'll go play with Steph Curry. Like that's what I would be afraid of as a Suns fan. Yeah. Yes, we've got this great contract where he's going to get paid millions and millions of dollars. But Daishen Nix is someone who is benefited from playing with elite talent in this Ignite team. I think he's been the benefactor of playing with Jonathan Kuminga and a Jalen Green. He looks like he can be a great pass-first point guard, and I think that's exactly what they want on that team. Like, long-term, is he the guy who's going to run the team? No, never. Yeah. But is he someone who can be a pass-first guard, who can defend, who can do all the little things right for them? and be a complementary piece to Devin Booker for the long run? I think so. I think he could do that.
Because, like, the other pick and I talked to you about this pick, obviously, as I was going through it, because, like, obviously, if Corey Kispert was there, he might have been my pick of, like, I'll just take him for the shooting that he provides. I know that one of the things you brought up when you were going through your mock is you were like, can Kispert play good enough defense?
Yeah, how much defense can he put out there? I mean, he's known for shooting. He can stand in front of people sometimes, so.
Yeah. Like, I really wanted to put Greg Brown there because he was still on my board. He went later. Like, you had him at 11. I have him all the way at 18.
I like Greg Brown a lot,
To where it's like, I was like, man, I really want to put Greg Brown here. But, like, I talked to you, it's like, with the Suns going Jalen Smith last year, does that automatically mean, because, like, you say Brown's a 4-5, well, could he be the backup 5 to Ayton? Could they draft him as the backup 5 to Ayton, and then depending on how contracts work in the future, like if they need to slide him to the 4, it just gives them more versatility, where Smith gives them versatility with the 4 and wing area, even though he's a 4.
I think he's a 4 and a 5. I think Jalen Smith is very similar to Greg Brown as far as positionally, where they'd be used at the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't think that Jalen Smith's ever going to guard a 3, intentionally. That would be on a switch only.
Or do they look to move on from Dario?
I think they gave him what kind of length on his contract?
He has got 2 years after this one.
So they believe in Dario to some extent. That's why I think they're fine just cycling in like random guys as their backup center. I like Jalen Smith as their like, oh, I can play the 4 or I can back up at the 5.
Yeah.
I can do a little bit of both. They got that great transition of Dario, Cam, and Smith, who all have a little bit of flexibility in their game. So for the Suns, I don't know, man. Like, you're picking for a backup position, which is already like, you literally can't go wrong here. Well, I say you can't go wrong, but they're clearly wrong answers. Yeah. But like, you're picking for a guy who's not going to be a starter. So what you see in Moses Moody is, hey, I want a guy who has the potential to be a bench scorer, who maybe in 3 years can be a starter if Mikhail has a contract issue or we just can't pay him, or something along those lines. So it's like you have to project pretty far out for some of these guys on very, very well set up teams.
I'm going to say this, and this might, some Suns fans might disagree with me, other fans might disagree with me. By this time next year, Dave, if the Suns have not, because next year is Mikhail's extension year. So like the exact point we're sitting right now, Mikhail will be in the running for extensions. If the Suns don't extend him before the year, they're idiots.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I would not even let it hit the season.
The question is he going to be a max player by that point? We don't know. And that's the question. Is he going to get one of these 4 for 80s, or is he going to get like a 4 for 100?
Makes it easy if Chris Paul says goodbye.
Some decisions do get made that way, yeah. By default, you're going to have to spend money somewhere. But no, I think that's the problem. They've got a lot of good wings out there, and at this point, we are drafting for backups and potential future fits. So keep that in mind with these picks.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the only other team that was interesting here is like the Hawks. I just want to mention them because, like you said, they just got a butt ton of players to where it's like, where do you fit in a rookie? Like, are they going to conversation? Are they going to make a John Collins trade? Which obviously, check out if you haven't already, MVP Sports Live. You can find it on our YouTube page. We talked about that the day that we're recording this mock draft. But Dave, let's close everything out. Let's look at 21 through 30. We'll start with you. We'll go through them. Who's your 21 through 30?
Sure. At 21, I've got the Knicks taking Hyunjung Lee, forward from Davidson. 21, I've got this. Nope, I've already fucked up. How did I do that? 21 was the Knicks. So at 22, I've got the 76ers taking Corey Kispert out of Gonzaga. At 23, I've got the Nuggets taking Nishan Highland, guard out of ECU. 24, I've got the Nets taking Trendon Wofford out of LSU. At 25, I've got the Celtics taking Amar Silla, the forward out of Senegal. At 26, with the Rockets' first of 2 picks, they will be taking Terrence Shannon Jr. And at 27, with the Rockets' second pick, they will take Josh Giddey, guard international, I think Australia. 28, I got the Clippers going with Rokos Joku Biatas. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry at that point. At 29, Lakers, Trey Mann, guard out of Florida. And at 30, the Bucks taking Devontae Jones out of Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, and the Houston protection, I am just going to read it here. This is why they have this pick. They have 1 through 4. They're going to own their own pick. So because they're not in the top 4, the Thunder had the Rockets' own pick. But they get the least favorable of, if Houston is 5 through 30, they get the least favorable of either Miami or OKC. OKC was more favorable here. Obviously, they were the number 3 pick. So then the Rockets get the Heat pick in that. That was in a deal that was via Miami to Phoenix to Philadelphia to the Clippers to OKC. I believe that was I looked this up on draft night. I feel like that was the Chris Paul. Chris Paul was in there. There was also like a Paul George trade that was with the Clippers.
It's a heavily traveled pick.
Yeah, very heavy. Detroit, if Detroit finishes 17 to 30, they'll get Detroit's pick. They did not, so they'll get that. And if the Portland pick falls between 15 and 30, which ours did, that's why they get the Portland pick, because it's between 15 and 30. So, that's the weird protections on the Rockets. For me, though, the Knicks via the Mavericks at 21, going with Ron Harper Jr. out of Rutgers. He's going to stay in that northeast area, being at Rutgers right now, the New Jersey area. Then the Sixers at 22, going with Jared Butler out of Baylor. The Nuggets at 23, going Terrence Shannon Jr. out of Texas Tech. The Nets at 24, going with Scotty Lewis out of Florida, a guy we talked about last year. The Celtics at 25, going with Dave's boy, Luka Garza out of Iowa. The Rockets via the Blazers, going with, and I am going to fuck some of these names up here, so correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. Boyu Dianko Baji, center out of Senegal. He's playing with FC Barcelona. Then the Rockets via the Heat go with Joel Ayayi, a guy we talked about last year, came back this year, guard for Gonzaga. Clippers go with Josh Giddey, the point guard from Australia, I believe. And then the Lakers go with Yuhan? Is it Yuhan? Yuhan Begarin, guard from, is he the New Zealander? I think he might be New Zealand. And then the Bucks go with Ariel Hookporty, the center from good old Germany. So if I fucked up any of those international names, just correct me down below. It's okay. Don't need to yell at me and call me stupid. I know I already am. But Dave, the 3 teams we're going to talk about, the first one, the Boston Celtics. And for me, this is the one where, thank God, we don't have to talk about the war chest anymore. For me, this is one, it's like, so Gordon Hayward leaves. Is it for sure that, hey, this team needs a big? Because to me, I was looking at it, hey, Luka Garza is there. We've been saying for God knows how long that, hey, this team could need a big. I know they signed Tristan Thompson, TT, this year. I don't know. I'm going to look to see where his contract falls, if it's more than this year. Yeah, he's under contract for this year and next year. What was your thought when you were getting to the good old Boston Celtics?
I mean, they need a big to some extent. They're so stacked at multiple positions. Mm-hmm. It just turned into like, I'm taking the highest potential person on the left.
Yeah.
Amar happened to be that for me. He's big, he's long, he's got a ton of potential. Mm-hmm. So to me, it just kind of seemed like, hey, they don't have roster slots. They can let him play overseas for this year.
Good point.
Let's let him do that, because they are, again, if you look at their active contracts, they are still in like a crazy situation. But yeah, he's big, he's long. I think he's got like a 7'1", 7'2" wingspan. Mm-hmm. Again, offensibility, yes. Upside, he's got everything. Literally everything you want him to be, he could be. And again, this is the problem when you take younger players from overseas, where yes, he's 6'9" with 7'2" wingspan. Seems great. Offense seems great. Everything looks like open floor. He can work with it. Defense, what can he do? Like, there's a lot of upside with this guy. The more I watch him and the more I watch Roko above him from Croatia, like, I think this, and you have a lot of international players. I think this is going to be one of the stronger international classes we see. I don't know if there's going to be a star a la Luka, but I think there are going to be a lot of above expected like players coming in, and he's definitely one of the guys I really like.
Well, I mean, more so too. I think the Celtics aren't the only team that has the contract issue. Where like,
No.
yet again, the Lakers. I had them go international because like unless they find a guy that they really like, hey, let's take a guy that. And yet again, these international players. I was even asking you of like, do we know how many of them are going to be leaning towards staying or going? Because like Leandro Balmero, we didn't know. Of course, he got drafted by. I think it was.
I
the
knew
Knicks.
he was. What are you talking about?
He got drafted by the Knicks, right? Or got traded to the Knicks?
No. He is a Timberwolf.
That's right. I'm trying to think bad team because the joke I was going to make is, of course he doesn't want to play for that team. So he's like, I'll just stay overseas. Like these guys, it's going to be interesting to see like, do they stay? Do they go? What's kind of, because like if I'm the Lakers, I'll take a guy who will stay because I'll spend money to help with a guy who will win now. Bucks might be in the same situation. We need a guy that's going to help Giannis win now, and if that's in the draft or not, we go ahead and do that. Rockets, another team of like, yet again, like the center is international. You can go and take the point guard who's not international for them. So it's like, it's going to be interesting to see where these guys even go because we even had some internationals. You had what? One of them in your 11 through 22. You had Garuba, right? Garuba?
Yeah,
is that how you say
Usman.
Usman and then Rocco, obviously, where I had Segun for the Warriors. But like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting how the bottom.
I'm like, wait, did we have any overlap on like we both Josh Giddey from playing in the NBL? Yes, we both have him. But outside of that, like, there's a wide amount of international players who are all vying for NBA slots this year. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Shit, that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's the most wide open international class we've seen.
7, 8, not at least 9. 9 international players out of our top 10. All of them out of the top 10. Let's be honest, right? All of them out of the top 10. Yeah, we have a lot of G leaguers at the top, but like, yeah, the Celtics to me were one to where it's like they have some free agents. Like Semi Ojeleye is one of them. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Where spots may open up. It's just what are they going to do this offseason?
That's the problem. They need to backfill for actual like. And no offense, but like what the Hawks did filling in with veterans who can contribute to a winning and play meaningful minutes.
That's what
they need to do. Boston's been using a ton of young guys and trying to make this happen. And like they've been incredibly successful with several of them, but like when those minutes count, like their roster has to shrink down to who can you put on the court, and they still have some guys they need to bring in, I think.
And I was going to make the joke of the bad trade that I saw of, if like to help them win, if Boston wants to send the Bulls Romeo, Grant Williams, Neesmith, and then their first round pick this year, we'll take it off their hands, and then they can have Larry Markkinen who can help them win.
I don't know who proposed that one.
Such an awful trade. I saw that in the Discord. It wasn't anyone in our Discord. It was like an article of like, hey guys,
can you believe this shit?
Holy shit. Like, even as a Bulls fan, I'm like, I'd fucking take that in a heartbeat. But as a Bulls fan, I'm going, you really want it? I'd be fucking AK going, you're sure you want to give this to us, right? I just want to check. The other team, since they're in the playoff hunt anyways, fuck it, all these teams are. The Clippers were another team. Like, so they extended Paul George. We talked about that. They extended Luke Kennard. We're going to mention that today on MVP Sports Live. We don't know what's going on with Kawhi. Like, this is another team of where I'm like, where do they go in the draft? Is this just like I did, hey, draft and stash and move on?
Yeah.
Because you also went draft. You also went international. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that was just the question.
I don't think anyone at the bottom of that draft, again, like every year there's somebody who does. So like, it's tough to say that, hey, this guy's going to pop off in his rookie year after we haven't seen him play NBA level competition and be a high level contributor. Like we do see the more senior players, the guys who are junior, seniors coming into the league at the bottom end because again, people are like, oh, they got no potential. They're like, yeah, but they can contribute at a high level. Like maybe there's some guys like that who get taken here instead of the international players. And you see more internationals go in the early second round. But
Yeah.
I think for me, I just think the Clippers are just kind of floating future because they don't have future picks. So
No,
if you
they
can
don't.
take somebody, put him overseas, and hope that he develops over there, and then in a year or two when you don't have picks, it's basically like you're getting that guy already.
The last two things we'll do, Dave, though, one's for me, one's for you. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, but don't worry. You'll knock it out of the park. It's something that it was something that you were talking about before we came into this. So you're going to knock it out of the park. For me, it was the Sixers and the Nets with my picks of Jared Butler and then Scotty Lewis is more of a thing of like, first, are they going to be making this pick or will the Houston Rockets be making this pick? Because are these going to be included in the James Harden deal? Like, and if they are not included in the James Harden deal, which they probably most likely would, are you taking like a Jared Butler? If I have to trade Ben Simmons, I'm going to need a point guard that can give me defense. That's why I went with a Jared Butler. The Nets, if I'm giving up a Karis LeVert and keeping this pick, I will need a two guard to fill the spot that Karis LeVert was at. So, like, there's even teams here to where it's like, are they even going to be picking because they're moving? For you, though, Dave, there are two guys that you talked about before we started the mock draft. This is a segment that will always be a segment for our first ever mock drafts. It's called Dave's Boys. Dave always has some boys where it's just like you fall in love with them. You got to give them love. Lukas Dort.
Fall in love with them. I'm just like, well, that's really fucking surprising.
Okay. Like Lukas Dort was one of Dave's boys. When they like 1.0.
He was my 1.0 boy. Yeah.
We could call him that. Dave's 1.0 boys. You got two of them. I'm not going to take the credit. I'll let you give them love because I can assume you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, so the first pick I have going off the board is 23, Nuggets taking Nyshawn Highland. This is a kid who is a bucket getter at the highest of levels. Like, he is really just a polished offensive weapon out there. VCU, not exactly known for their, contributions to the NBA. I know they're not. Actually, they
had a Ron Baker shot taker, baby.
Okay, so maybe there's a pedigree for this. Maybe there's a precedence, I should say. But yeah, Nyshawn Holland right now at VCU, his second year, just shooting absolutely.
No, that was Wichita. Never mind, he was Wichita.
Thank you. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm gonna look up VCU players while you keep talking.
NBA legends. That's who we want to see. But yeah, right now his line is 50, 40, 91. He's shooting 8.6 threes a game and making them at a 40% clip. He moves the ball okay, but his job is to get buckets, and I think that the Nuggets off the bench would love to have somebody like that. They've got great defenders already, but Jamal Murray, obviously MPJ, we'll see if he can step up. Bull going to be great for them in the future. But Jokic, like, you got your two main scorers, you got your two potential future wings who can bring points, but that guard position, Will the Thrill Barton, not exactly an offensive dynamo.
Yeah.
So, who we got, Ricky?
Since 2009, Eric Maynor, who played for the Thunder, Sixers, Blazers, Jazz, and Wizards. Larry Sanders in 2010, Cleveland, Milwaukee was who he played for. Troy Daniels in 2013 played for a litany of 7 years with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. Then we've got Briante Weber in 2015, played for 5 teams in 3 years. And then Trayvon Graham in 2015 played for 4 teams in 4 years. So yeah, no one in our era that's sticking. Like, yeah, there's some 90s guys, but like, yeah, I mean, Mark Jackson, not that Mark Jackson.
Nyshawn Highland, mark it on the calendars.
Okay.
Dave said it on December 22nd.
Okay.
A little pre-Christmas gift for y'all. If you have VCU on TV, he'll stand out. Trust me.
Yeah.
This dude, like, a lot of people are saying he's basically like the Lou Will of college right now, just at will buckets. I love that. I mean, you always are going to need somebody to get buckets for you off the bench. So he's number 1. 2, Devontae Jones out of Coastal Carolina. It's their year. Let's be honest. Coastal Carolina needs some more love.
Chanticleers.
He is a defensive beast. He's only 6'1", but he plays with the intensity of like a Chris Paul kind of an answer. Size doesn't really matter to him. He is just aggressive. And again, that does lead to a couple of personal fouls, but he's a turnover machine. He gets steals like for a living. Like he eats, breathes, and lives steals. It is disgusting what he's doing right now. His shooting is actually really good. I don't know if that will sustain because his 3-point shot has been falling, but again, in the past, he is a junior right now. His freshman year, he shot 33. Second year is 29. This year, it's 42. And on the most attempts he's ever done at 5.7 a game. So, like, his shot has gotten better. Free throw percentage has been excellent. All college, 81, 86, 86. So, who knows? This could be a second-round guy or an undrafted guy that people fall in love with because his defense, his work ethic is phenomenal. Right now, he's averaging 3.9 steals a game. He has a 6-steal game, 2 5-steal games, 3 3-steal games. He is after the ball. And I think that you got to give love to people like that. Last one. I forgot who's even on this in this category, basically. My Landers Nolly replacement, as I've termed him already. Hyung-Jung Lee out of Davidson. He's a long, tall. They mark him now as a guard, but he's basically like a 3 who ball handles well.
Yeah.
He moves the ball, but the dude is a sniper from the outside. He knocks down threes really well. Good eye for the game. So I want to, again, will he finish the season here? I don't know, but right now what I've seen out of him and his progression, like I think he should be on people's boards, or at least just on the radar. You know.
You only listed off 3.
Trenton Wofford.
That's who I was waiting for. I was like, "Where's Wofford?"
Okay, Wofford. I want to say Wofford for 3 because that's obviously the most famous line.
Indiana, Kentucky, baby.
The most famous line, I think, in history of college. No, not the most, but it's up there.
One of top 5 for sure. Top five for sure.
He is just a bucket machine too, and maybe that's my thing. I just like offense. Like
Dave just likes getting buckets.
I gave you a wing. I gave you a guard, or 2 guards. Yeah, so I gave you a defensive point guard. I gave you an offensive guard. I gave you a wing and Lee, and now I'm giving you a big. Basically,
dude, you almost got your starting 5 right there.
Almost do. I just hate center so much. It's a shame. But yeah, he's 6'9". He just scores so efficiently, and I wonder. Again, Javonte Smart almost made this list too. They got 2 great performers right now at LSU. They are a team on the rise, perhaps. But I honestly forgot Sharif O'Neal is on that team. That's a shocker.
Dave's like, I forgot this guy. I forgot that guy.
Learn new things.
To be honest, when I threw this out there, I was like, oh, Wofford, and then what was it? Jones is from Coastal Carolina. I'm like, those are the 2. And then I'm like, oh shit, I forgot he had the VCU kid and the Davidson kid.
Yeah. Again, Wofford is one of those kids who, like, if his 3-point shot, like, he doesn't take many. He's taking like 2 a game. But if he can consistently hit them at a decent clip, that makes him a threat out there.
Yeah.
And he scores really well on the inside. And kind of gives me some hype motion because he's passing the ball, he's rebounding, and I think he could be someone who we see hit the first round. I'm not locking anybody.
Yeah.
But like he's giving me a lot of hope. This is a very good draft. That's the problem. I think there's about 8 names who I couldn't include in my first round. And I wanted to. It was like, extend the first round. We need an expansion through the first round, please.
Every single draft, we do a full 2-round mock draft. I'm not saying that's a joke, Dave. That's a joke.
No, I mean, there is, but like it's one of those situations where you know how we're like, that's a first round talent in the second round. Like he's one of those kind of guys.
Do we start including those? Like, hey, this is like 3 guys that could have went.
I think I will going forward. Definitely include that in this last segment because now that I've exposed you to the guys that I think I like, I can put some guys who might be more. Some people think general consensus will likely be drafted there, and I'll be like, well, those guys, first round consideration. But yeah, I think getting the first round talent out of maybe 35, maybe 40 deep this year could be a good year. Could be a good year.
You want to know why I wanted to start this? Because I wonder how many people who listen to us because we've heard like in comment sections, the Discord, where it's like, wow, I heard you guys talk about this guy. I didn't really know about him. And then I started looking at him like, how many of you out there are now going to look at these guys' highlights because you're like, well, Dave talked about him. Now I got to go see these guys and how
they're worth a watch. They're absolutely worth a watch.
I mean, more great basketball, like watching great basketball, watching great players, even if they don't get drafted in the first round, you're watching good basketball. But Dave, that's going to do it for us. My timer is off because since we're pre-recording this, we had a stoppage in play.
You want to talk about your 7 international players in your last 10 picks? Any highlights from those guys you want to toss out there?
None at all. I threw them in all as draft and stashes, and I probably fucked up most of their names. So
there's Garza. Is he a first-round pick this year?
Yeah, I think so. Like, he Wooden Award winner. Put some respect on it. I'm calling it early, even though Io should win it.
Slow.
Yeah, but he's a center. Centers are supposed to be slow. They're not all quick and nimble, you know what I'm saying? All hibbity-hobbity from tree to tree. Super troopers there. But yeah, it's like, that's one where I threw it in there because Dave loves Luka Garza. I love the Big Ten basketball. Got to give Big Ten basketball some love. But, absolutely. Dude can score the rock, though. He can score the rock. He can shoot.
Kid.
Yeah, he's slow.
He is a man among children on that basketball court right now. So that's what everybody wants to see is, like, when he hits the NBA, what's he going to look like, you know?
Yeah.
Playing that strong game, and who knows? Who knows?
But, Dave, that is going to do it for us. Remember, if you want to get these a week early before anyone else, patreon.com/MVPvids is how you go ahead and do that. Remember, if you're not in the Discord, go ahead and join it. Link is down below in the description. It's the greatest community on the internet where we're constantly talking about all of this stuff in the Discord, and we're even watching games throughout the entire year. $1 on Patreon gets you into those watch-alongs where you get to fucking watch games with us. It's fucking a great time. But thank you guys. Let us know, obviously, what you think about everything down below. Dave and I will be doing these more throughout the year, obviously. I want to thank you guys for watching, listening, doing everything you do. And as always, have a good day, everybody.